I just wanted to make sure that I addressed the media today for the reasons of before going into the weekend about yesterday's incident, and from a different perspective, all right? Or how, let me say this, how our policy is and how we address crime. So first of all, my thoughts and prayers go out to the gentleman that passed away yesterday, the postman. I'm very saddened by that. But I also want to make sure that we place blame where blame needs to be placed. Brandon Andrews, all right? This is senseless. Our officers don't like to pursue people. It's scary. You go 100 miles an hour because of the fact that you're trying to address a situation where somebody's violated law. They're within state statute and they're within policy. So it's not a situation where it's fun, all right? And I want to touch on this as well. People that do not pull over when a police officer activates their blue lights, it's not your citizen, your law-abiding citizen that is going to work every day. It's usually somebody that has something to hide. And I want to talk about this there's an overwhelming majority of information that displays that traffic stops produce results in apprehending hardened criminals or criminals with long or lengthy histories, which were far more serious than just a traffic ticket. And this is a hard topic, but a lot of times what we've encountered from addressing criminals, they feel like if they get to that city limits in Jackson, then they're safe. Well, we have a duty, and we're sworn, and I'm saying we, it's because I'm a former police officer too. I've been there and seen these things. But that's not what needs to be happening here. We need to be working together with these cities, and we need to be on the same page when it comes to fighting crime. Something that I want to talk about as well is just some objective data that I think that the media needs to know about Mr. Andrews. Andrews is currently out on felony bond from the Flowood Police Department for possession with intent to sell narcotics while in possession of a firearm and possession of a stolen firearm. Also, Andrews is a suspect in a capital murder case, kidnapping and murder in Jackson, being handled by the Hinds County DA's office. Brandon Andrews was charged in 2021 for armed robbery and shooting into a vehicle in Hinds County. He was arrested by Pearl Police Department for DUI. And in Thursday's pursuit, Pearl officers found a 30-round extended magazine in his car that he tried to hide when he went behind an abandoned house in the vehicle. So Mayor Lumumba released a statement saying there are often tragic outcomes like this one for minor traffic stops, and we have experienced it before. This fella wasn't a minor traffic stop. He was a hardened criminal that our guys were taking an approach to try to apprehend because he had violated the law. And again, violated state statute, and they were within their policy. The emphasis here is we need to be concentrating on these criminals instead of these police officers doing their job each and every day. And quite frankly, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of living in an environment where there's no consequences for people that violate the law. And if we're going to have safe areas, that's how we have to treat these situations. There shouldn't be these things as far as the mindset of no consequences when you break the law. It really repulses me. So, some additional information here. This is not exact data, but I'm just going to say 99% of people pull over for minor traffic stop. The ones that run usually have sinister reasons, i.e. Brandon Andrews. I just read you what he's capable of, what he's being convicted of. Our focus must be condemning the actions of people like this, like Brandon Andrews, and again, not our police officers. They put innocent people's life at risk, just like yesterday. And from the standpoint of our police officers carrying out their duty, and again, they took an oath. It would be irresponsible for us. I guess I can't listen to my own instructions here. It would be irresponsible of us not to pursue. And I'll tell you why. Number one, in that situation, we allow somebody like this to go back on the street and just be a reoccurring situation where you have more victims out there. And I think the media has a copy of the crimes that he's been convicted of and some that he's actually a suspect for currently. It's not fair for our citizens, and my job is to protect Pearl, and it's not fair for Jackson citizens either. So we're going to make sure that we do what we need to do within the scope of the law and within our policy and procedures to apprehend people like Brandon Andrews and get them off the street. Again, I want to reiterate the fact that Brandon Andrews was the person that fought here, not our police officers. He's the one that hit the mail carrier truck, not our police officers. I'll answer any questions at this time. I just want to make sure before we went into the weekend that I gave a perspective of how we operate in Pearl and how we're going to continue to operate. We're going to hold up for our citizens over here, and I'm going to stand up behind our police department and what they do each and every day, because they put their life on the line. More so than ever in the history of the United States, police officers are coming under attack. And this mayor right here, as long as I'm in this office, we're going to fund them, we're going to give them training, we're going to give them the equipment they need so they can do their job and protect our people and help protect people of other cities. Sorry. Any questions at this time?
Mayor, yes. What was Thursday's initial traffic stop of Brandon?
Well, let me say this. As far as the investigation itself, I'm not going to get into that. That's under investigation. These are sentiments that I want to make sure that people understand of how we approach and why we think the way we do, because we know that we can put people behind bars that don't need to be on the streets every day, that are victimizing innocent people. So I'm sorry I can't talk specifically to the investigation.
Did you guys know Andrew's criminal history prior to chasing him, or did you guys chase him with the assumption that he is a criminal?
No. So there's a violation, obviously. And then we do find out this information. What my intention here is to show the correlation between traffic stops and apprehending hardened criminals. If you let them go, they will continue to do what they do and victimize people. So this was data that we verified prior to coming into the press conference, but it's an issue that we depend upon in Police 101 saying, hey, you got to make traffic stops. Some of the most infamous murderers and criminals have been apprehended through traffic stops. So
you guys didn't know?
Well, we did not, but again, this is the result of doing your job every day.
Mayor, you kind of touched on it. Can you just explain what is the city's policy when it comes to pursuits? Do you all, so police officers have to green light for chasing to other cities? Yeah, we do have. We're in step with the 97 code. I'm not going to be able to quote it here, but felony fleeing, failure to yield to blue lights. Yes, we do. Our policy, our city policy, or our police department policy, we do pursue. We do pursue. And in the near future, just to take it to another level, we are in the process of ordering the equipment to place on our vehicles in order to pit people. And that way we don't have as many pursuits. I think that's going to be a tool that our police officers are going to be able to use in order to have some of these things. But we're going to equip some of our cars out with that. And we're going to teach our guys properly. We've already sent a guy to instructor school, and he's going to be out there teaching our other guys, and they're going to be certified. And another tool in a police officer's tool belt in order to apprehend people and keep our people safe. And just another follow-up question. Why didn't the police officer stop once he got into Jackson city limits, into a neighborhood, or why didn't you try to call JPD?
We notified JPD.
Okay.
We notified JPD. Our dispatch did. We do every time we enter their city.
Did JPD not respond?
I don't know if there was officers that ended up responding just because they knew that we had a situation within their city. Yes, sir.
The question I have is, on all of these issues with the individual who was being chased, why pull this information together now, only after the narrative got out that the individual was being chased for speeding?
I just answered that question. I told you that when I was talking to this young lady, that's why we pull people over and pursue, is because we can apprehend people like that have a long criminal history. So
from that standpoint, traffic stops work. They get criminals off the street. You can see this list. Yeah, was it some homework that we put together? Yeah, but it was also to show the news media, this is what happens when you do your job and you get people off the street through traffic stops. Not every time. It might be mom going home and she just has a citation written for doing 40 and a 25. But a lot of times when people fail to yield to the blue lights, there's something sinister that they're holding back. And this is just proof that that's true.
But you didn't let this information out yesterday, you just said it was for speeding.
Well, here's
One thing that would have been, worth putting out there was that you found a 30-round extended magazine in the car that was left behind an abandoned house. That could have changed the entire narrative yesterday. You had no one with Pearl.
well, it's because we like to verify and confirm information before we put it out. I'm going to verify something before I talk to you guys.
Do you guys feel partly responsible that a postal worker is dead? I know you guys said that, part of it is to protect, citizens in Pearl, citizens in Jackson, but when you walk down the street where the incident happened, people say they wish you guys wouldn't have chased because they know their mailman who didn't get to deliver their mail yesterday.
We didn't kill their mailman. Brandon Andrews did. He could have pulled over at any time, but he disobeyed the law.
So you guys don't feel like you took part?
No, there's compassion, and like I said, very saddened by the death. Yeah, no, I do not think that our police officers are responsible for that, not one bit. He could have pulled over prior to. He could have stopped violating the law. There's consequences. And look, if you're going to have real justice and really enforce your law and you're going to have safe communities, you got to do that. Now, he could have pulled over on I-20 in Pearl, Mississippi. That postman would have never been hit.
Do you guys think it's a hazard to be in these high-speed chases in residential areas where there's children, old people?
Well, you haven't seen the speed of our officer. Our officer that actually pursued is from South Jackson. He knows the streets, so he was able to maneuver himself through the streets a lot better than the criminal.
I got a question, Mayor. What do you say to the residents in that neighborhood who say, they told me yesterday, they feel like the Pearl officer should have stopped once he got to Jackson because he was out of his jurisdiction. They could have gotten a license plate number. There are other things that could have been done besides this. Just what do you say to those residents?
I'm going to say 0 homicides in Pearl, Mississippi, 157 in Jackson. That's my answer.
But that's nothing to do with...
I don't care. It's part of enforcing crime. It's part of enforcing crime. It's the same thing. We are not going to take a lackadaisical approach because of those reasons.
Let me ask you this then. You said you were a former police officer. Is there something your officer could have done differently in that situation from your point of view?
No, again, he knew the road. He knew the streets much better than the guy that he was pursuing because he grew up in South Jackson.
How fast were police officers going?
That's part of the investigation.
So I know one Jackson councilman says he thinks the officer should be held accountable because he was operating outside his jurisdiction and it led to this. What do you think of that?
I don't care what Kenny Stokes thinks.
Was there ever a thought, Mayor, that it was just too dangerous and to back off?
No, our officers are trained. They understand. If it gets to be to a situation, they understand when to back off if it's too congestive. Or it's in a situation where they feel like, hey, look, this is not a situation we need to continue the pursuit.
What was your reaction last night when you read the mayor's statement?
I was surprised. I was surprised by that because, and I'm saying that we are cordial and have worked together on some other projects. And I just think that from the situation, it was disappointing because it automatically went to Pearl Police instead of Brandon Andrews. And I don't believe that's right. Now, that's my conviction, and I think that from enforcing the law. So, I mean, some people don't agree that way, but our crime stats speak for themselves.
Will you guys be taking another look at your guys' policy when it comes to chasing people into other city limits, or are you guys going to stay with what you have now?
No, what we're hoping is that people will, we're not going to change our pursuit policy. We're not going to change that. Now, I'm telling you that when we start placing some of these guards on our cars and we implement pitting people, we'll be keeping those people inside our city. You'll just have to, pitting is not a very intrusive maneuver where you can touch a car, make the car spin out, then you apprehend the person within your city instead of going on chases. And so we're implementing that policy.
Where can we find the current policy? Can we see like a physical, is this in writing? Is this
Yes, well, you can contact our city clerk's office about that. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned a lot of people who run from the police run from sinister reasons. Have you ever thought about the recent social media history that Pearl Police and the reputation it gained from in the community regarding a few issues that could make some people, one, not hesitant just to Pearl Police, but policing in general, and the historical complications that may make people hesitant towards police that may not be sinister if you didn't know the date of someone is already incriminated before they've been stopped?
So let me ask you a question. Are you taking up for this guy?
No. You may answer my question.
I'll answer your question. If you're no,
Not really that.
well, let me talk. So you're saying that due to the reputation that Pearl PD
I'm
has,
saying the reputation and historical complications of policing and communities. Has your department ever thought about ways that they can expand upon improving relations that contribute to some people being hesitant or not stopping for the police?
I think that when people characterize police officers, they automatically think that they're just guys or ladies that get out of the car, want to write a ticket, want to arrest somebody. And that's not typically true. We had one of our police officers not too long ago worked a case for one of our local residents and knew that the guy was going through a hard time. Moments later, went to the store, bought him a card, and bought a whole lot of things, and then delivered to him. What am I saying is, there's a human aspect to these things. Our guys try to do us right, and what people allow them to do. I tell them, and I've told the chief, they go back to their training if something gets out of hand. We try to treat people fair and right from a human perspective. I mean, we're all made in God's image, so you give the respect to the other person. Until sometimes things happen, and I mean, you have to arrest somebody. You have to use some of your tactics in order to take people into custody. But you know, I like to think that, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but I feel like our folks really do treat people. People have bad days. Treat people fairly. My rule of thumb was, let's take the Andy Griffith approach until you don't let me or allow me to. But there's been several occasions outside of the scope of policing that our guys and ladies would do things for people just out of the goodness of their heart, and it builds relationships. So we try to do that, and I think that we've done a good job of that.
Mayor, so Jackson residents we talked to, they agree Andrews was in the wrong, but they also say Pearl Police was also in the wrong. So nobody is putting all the blame on Pearl Police. They're saying he was in the wrong, but so was Pearl Police for crossing into Jackson city limits outside their jurisdiction.
Well, I disagree with those citizens.
So you don't
I don't want to expound. I disagree. I don't think Pearl Police was in the wrong.
Have you spoken with the mayor of Jackson since this happened, and do you plan to?
No, I have not, but I do plan on talking to Mayor Lumumba. Any additional questions?
Just, were there any other things the officer could have done, like put sprints down, take a tag number of the vehicle?
No.
So the way you guys did it was,
We were by the book. And I think, I mean, later on, MBI has the investigation. It's actually, protocol is that they handle everything at this point. So we can't be involved. We responded initially, called MBI in, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Haynes sent his guys out there, and then we were released from the investigation, and then MBI took over at that point.
The officer involved, did he receive any injuries? Is he still with the department?
He's fine, and he's still gainfully employed. All right. Thank y'all for being here today.